After SK Telecom have grabbed the first win of the series, we're jumping right into the second one to find out whether or not Splice can strike back here and tie up the series, or SKT are looking to move up to match point already. A little bit of a change up in champion picks here, always nice to see, especially from the losing team of the first game, and to see what they can adapt and how they can make sure that the second game isn't just gonna go the same route the first one did. You can see on the top of the screen here, first seed out of LCK versus the third seed from Europe, and it has looked quite promising for Splice at times, although SKT have played better in that first game and earned themselves that victory. Khan for the second game on his signature Fiora top lane, and Visichachi with the Poppy counter pick here, looking to, well, just deny that Fiora to scale freely until she just runs down with Ichachi inevitably. Bot lane early trading commencing here, Noshkarin having been chunked low but survived for the time being. Kobe and Noshkarin here, that duo for Splice, playing quite well in that first game but not able to pull through in the late game after it had gone just a little bit too far south for the rest of the map in the early phase of the game. On the other side though, for SK Telecom, we have a very interesting composition. Fiora, I already mentioned, just gonna be an incredible split push monster the longer the game goes, but as well as that, we have full physical damage, except that Elise in the middle lane here. Faker on the Tristana mid lane, such an aggressive early champion pick, and so much different than the Lissandra as a setup champion from game 1 this time around. Here he's gonna look to punish Humanoid in the laning phase, and Humanoid of course having gone for the more late game champion in the Rise, which is probably a champion Faker knows the best out of every single one in this game. One of his signature champions. He is, well, he's just gonna look to punish this Rise as best as he can, and early on that he should succeed in doing so, quite frankly. Splice here again getting made moves on very early in this game. SKT set up for 4 people to dive here under the bottom lane, but with 3 members from Splice, I doubt that SKT are actually gonna pull through on this one. It's 3 versus 4. Is there a teleport coming in as well? SKT are diving as a 3-man squad of Splice here in the bottom lane. Let's see how they can succeed in this one. First kill going over to Teddy, and the return kill goes out onto Effort. It's a double kill for SKT's AD carry, and so far it has gone quite well. It's a 2-for-2 trade as the dust settles, and it remains to be seen if it's actually gonna be worth it at the end. And Noshkarin tries to make something work onto Faker, but probably realizes that Teddy is still nearby, therefore does not push any further. And although a 2-for-2 with the turret dive does not sound too bad here for Splice, another backboard cancel comes out. Gonna be just quite annoying for Faker, who will lose a few CS for that in the middle lane. But what I was saying, Visichachi, hold on a second, he's getting ran down in the top lane, flash out of combat, Visichachi just gets away in time. Is Cersei gonna be able to run down this Fiora here? Let's see how he plays this one. Flashes off the reckless swings, and that's a kill going over to the Olaf. 2-1-0 here for Xerxes. A very much different early game than the last game. And Splice are the ones ahead. Although Teddy is very strong on this Kaiser with the BF sword available to him, they're looking to punish the enemy bot lane once more, but Splice have avoided the gank this time around. This wave is in a terrible spot for them though, and therefore Copy is gonna fall behind even further in this matchup. We see 2 tiers on the side of Splice and a Poppy in the top lane, which again signals that there's not gonna be anything they can do early on in this game. It's gonna be so tough for them, quite frankly, to withstand SKT's playmaking wherever they attempt it. With 2 tiers, they simply don't have the damage to win bigger skirmishes. But again, they are trying to make stuff happen, just like in the previous game. I do like that despite picking some of the, well, more late game focused champions, they are still not just sitting back early, but instead are trying to make moves on SK Telecom. Let's get another replay of that fight here. SKT opens up with Effort tanking the turret as they should. He does drop to the 3rd turret shot, just barely, quite unlucky for him. And then the most crucial part of this one is that Teddy grabs both the kills for SKT, and therefore comes back to lane with the BS sword. Now completely a lopsided bot lane matchup in terms of skirmishing power, and that should mean that also the early dragons are probably going over to SK Telecom. Good trades coming out from Visichachi here, who has struggled big time early on in this lane, but with that gank out of Cersei, it seems as though that matchup has been salvaged or stabilized at the very least. Klid now for once in the topside jungle of Splices, but decides not to look for something in top lane. Visichachi also just decides to go back to his base, therefore no angle even opening up for Klid. And with all his camps down, he does have the time to spend to look for some plays across the map. He has done his job and, well, yeah, just cleared his own jungle, which is always what you want to look for if you're playing jungle in solo queue. Just clear your camps and then go for a gank afterwards. So even if the gank doesn't net anything, you at least are not losing gold anywhere on the map. So far though, it's going quite decently for SKT here. They have accelerated the Kaiser, funnily enough, just like Splice did in the last game, but in return there's not that fat Lucian on the other team in their top side, who's with impending doom looking to join the bot lane and negate all that lead you have accumulated on your Kaiser. Instead, it Splice very little agency to go for anything early on, and the result of that, as well as the enabled bot lane from SKT, is the first dragon going over to the Korean squad once more. Mountain Dragon here means a bit more tankiness, although they don't have the most tanky members on the team, not the most champions who are looking to buy resistances. Therefore, that percentage increase in resistances is not going to be not going to have the hugest payoff imaginable for their side. An Ocean Dragon early on in laning phase is probably always the most effective one in just sustaining through the lane and getting a bit more favorable trading off here. Khan just time and time again avoiding those poppy Qs, which is always really difficult to do, of course, with his movement making it as hard as possible for Visichachi to land those on him, and that's the main damage of Poppy, with the percentage max HP being applied here. That would be what he's looking for in these trades, but more often than not, Khan actually able to avoid them means that this trading is going way better for him than it necessarily should be. Rise in the mid lane here, we can see he's going for the full scaling option here with the tier, of course, and also the boots already. And Fake on the other side has gone down quite significantly in CS. That bot lane turret dive, of course, has netted him two assists, but with the CS gap in the mid lane, he's not going to be too happy and not going to be able to well, further abuse that 1v1 scenario down there. Gets hit by an axe, gets also ganked by Noshkirin, but great ult out. The Buster Shot might just save him here. Humanoid has stepped out a bit too far and just gets turned on under the turret. Effort picks up the kill with the Ignite and even flashes off the Noshkirin here, forcing the Splice support to burn the summoner of his own. And that play was just a bit more than they could chew here. Bitten off by the side of Splice. They tried to chase Faker out here, but instead it's top lane where they're gonna find another kill, presumably here. Khan still alive, but about to get undertowed down by Olaf. Manages to dodge out, and no, disaster strikes as the cocoon lands onto Visichachi, who was looking for a bit too much here. Flash still available to him, and again you can just once more you see SKT just a bit more clean on their champions, quite frankly. Splice not with the quickest fingers, and it's cost them so much in this series already, quite frankly, that they don't burn their summoners in time and give up crucial kills as the result of that, as well as miss the one onto Khan here in the top side. Shutting that Fiora down a bit further would have been so helpful, and instead of that, he's completely even with the Poppy, and that's always a victory for the Fiora the longer the game goes, because maybe the Poppy might be a bit more impactful in team fights, but you're going to terrorize the side lane from 3 items onward if you are Khan here. Take a second though, Kobe is pushing up in the top lane and Klid has set up a trap for him. He's looking for the perfect time to land the cocoon. The minion wave is going to shield Kobe for now, but he's probably going to walk back into this bush and try to recall. Is Klid just going to wait all the time? No, he's now making his move. Opens with the red smite, therefore negates a big amount of damage here out of Kobe. And despite his best efforts to avoid the gank, effort is now coming in and finishing off the kill. Assist given over to Teddy, and it's Klid who takes the last hit here. What a nice patient play here, quite honestly, from SKT. Clit then opens up the play, and just in time gets joined by his bottom lane. Moves up to 2 and 1 and now completely even with the Olaf again. And that's another point of pressure where Splice lost their advantage here in the bot lane once more. Poppy not able to get ahead early on against the Fiora is going to be an issue for them. The simple team fighting power might not be enough if the last game has taught us anything. You can't just pick 3 scaling lanes and hope that SKT is not going to do anything about it. They might not be as proactive and crazy as G2 in their plays, so it's not looking as bad for Splice as it did in Europe when they were trying to scale to late game against those, well, star-studded G2 or Fnatic rosters. But on the side of SKT, despite the star power being at least as high, if not higher, as that of the European teams, they are not as early game oriented. Of course, Klid is very much so. He, on his playmaking junglers, is always making stuff happen early on, as he did in both games of this series here, noticeably. But um, other than that, their team not as punishing early on. Khan trying to punish Visichachi here from right off the reset, burns his ultimate, but Visichachi on the Poppy staying cool here, just able to walk it off with his W. Of course, on the other side, not able to return damage onto Khan, who at this point already has too much lifesteal to even be threatened by the Poppy anymore in any way, shape, or form. SKT having transferred the bottom lane to the top side and setting up the strong side of the map there, getting just a bit more of turret plating and crucially looking to pick up the Herald. Hook lands onto Noshkirin on the toe follows, and the Nautilus ult now kind of wasted here from SKT with no real follow-up being provided. Maybe, just maybe, Splice can avoid that Rift Herald take, but not looking like that's the case, as Humanoid was still shoving out the mid lane, and it's SKT who grabbed that Rift Herald and probably are just gonna spawn it up immediately here in the top lane. There they go, looking to pick up the first turret of the game, but at least some turret plating for their Kaiser. We see 160 and 320 more going over to Teddy there. And despite that turret living for another day, it's now 1.5 kills in gold, having gone over to Teddy just off that Rift Herald play. Visichachi finds himself in a bit of a difficult situation here against Khan in the bot side, but Fiora not just quite pulling the trigger, but Visichachi having wasted his W. Maybe that's the window of opportunity for Khan to go in there, but decides he's gonna play it safe, maybe just respecting the roam from Humanoid with the Realm Warp, which was probably the smart choice here out of Khan. Visichachi staying in the lane with his passive, trying to chunk out Khan, but the first one to make his way down here is actually effort from SKT, and that's looking like trouble for Splice, but Visichachi uses his ultimate to stay alive here. Just yeets away the enemy support and plays it calm. Again, no, he's not doing a bad job at living, but not able to punish the Fiora as well, and therefore giving us free scaling lane over to SKT's top laner, which is always something you hate to hear when it's about Khan and especially about Fiora. He's looking very strong here, and with the Ravenous Hydra coming in just a second, he's gonna be well all over that side lane. Now even threatening a turret dive onto his Chachi as it looks. Clinton also looking to punish the enemy top laner, but Xerxes this time around just in time makes his way down to cover for his top laner. But as the dust settles, as everybody gets out of the situation, it's SKT who have seized control of the dragon area and are doing exactly that. Taking the second dragon off the game, and also with that first turret picked up in the top lane just a second ago, now able to extend their turret lead to 2-0 with Khan pretty much on his own, able to claim the one in the bottom lane. So despite Splice's quite decent early game and holding on well against the turret dive in the bottom lane, especially, it's not looking too good for them, quite honestly. SKT have accelerated the game, and I know Splice are the late game team and they also have the late game draft here, but Just like in the previous game, that's probably not enough if the enemy team has playmaking tools like they do, and if they have enabled a few core members of theirs, with which they very much have. Khan, at least even with the Poppy, as soon as he cashes in on that call, he's going to be way ahead of Visichachi in that 1v1. And the bot lane, the Kaiser, of course, also uh, pretty fed on his own. And the one kill onto Cobb is probably not going to be able to equalize the damage output these two guys are going to be able to, well, just put on the table in team fights. Quite honestly, SKT, they are playing the map wipe. They are trying to grab as much gold as possible, but I wonder where they are looking to stake these fights. Effort getting picked out in the middle lane here. He might just drop, but for now survives with the stasis. Ultimate forced out from Xerxes, and the play has gone quite well for SKT after all. Effort trading his stasis for the enemy, well, for the ignite out of Noshkirin and the Ragnarok from Xerxes. Decent trade for SKT, but as Effort now a bit low on HP might just be better off returning to base here, and that seems to be exactly what he's doing. Khan back. Split pushing in the bot lane here, and Faker even trying to threaten the kill onto Viscachi gets ulted out of there from the Poppy. Such an unusual pick to see in pro play oftentimes, but Viscachi always been, well, pretty much the best known Poppy player in Europe. So not surprising at all to see him pull it out in this high stakes match here, going back to Comfort and a pick that's traditionally done quite well into Fiora, but with the call now completed for Khan, I expect him to roll over the sideline matchup sooner rather than later, and Splice have already read the writing on the wall and decided that Rice might just be better off facing off the Fiora, and instead sent Poppy here in the top side against Faker, which is probably the smart choice. The game having, slowed down in pace. Let's talk a bit about the stakes here for this one. SKT, after last year's embarrassing World Championship for the LCK, are looking to restore faith in their region. So many of the Korean fans claim that it was only so bad because SKT and Faker weren't the ones to represent the region at the World Championship. Of course, they also didn't manage to win the previous one in 2017, but it was still Korea who went away with the title, and Faker's SKT still managed to make the finals. Great pick in the top lane with the flash stun out of Visichachi, but Buster Shot gets Faker to safety as he walks it off in the top side, and SKT are picking up the third turret and the final outer one here in the middle lane. So SKT carried the hopes of the entire Korean fan base here. Griffin haven't dropped to IG, means that there's only one other Korean team remaining, and it's down one against G2, which still could go either way. Teddy finds a kill here onto Pyke, and Splice are now on the run after the play they initiated has gone so far south for them. Repel gets clipped to safety, but only for a short amount of time before Xerxes picks him up with the undertow. Now dropping himself, and Vichichachi on the run as well, getting chased off by Khan. Great E to safety, but that might not be enough as his W seems not to be up here. Faker leaps after him, and it's Khan who picks up the final kill here of the fight. Splice were looking for something, but it didn't work out in their favor at all. They initiated the play, and they lose out 1, 2, 3 in kills. Another dragon just about to spawn. They are all going to respawn in time for that one, but it's again SKT who get the first setup for the objective. Let's see how this one went down. It's a 5 versus 2 as the play starts off. A 4 versus 2, excuse me, but it's Teddy who just one-shots the Pyke, and then Clade landing the max range cocoon onto Copy's Ezreal. That should never happen if you're an Ezreal player getting hit by the max range Elise cocoon. Copy is going to look back at that one with disappointment, surely. And as the result of all that, Splice just didn't get a pick onto anybody. They just ran after SKT and got chunked out one after the other. Great team fighting here coming out from the Korean squad. Splice, of course, is the third seed from Europe, but the second seed in Fnatic has already dropped in that previous best of 5 against FPX, which isn't the hugest surprise, but that means that there's only G2 and Splice left. It's not looking good for Splice so far. The European fans would much rather see the Splice win this one, because remember, if both Splice and G2 win their respective quarterfinals, that's one guaranteed European team in the finals against one LPL team from the other side of the bracket. And what a storyline that would be for those two regions matching up from that previous World Finals. Fnatic, European teams getting revenge for Fnatic, who lost last year against IG, of course, in the finals. Teddy getting chased down here in the bottom lane, gets the return kill even. Great play coming out from SKT's AD carry, and despite him dropping the other members with a great parry out of Khan, just able to pick off Vizichachi afterwards. And it was a shutdown that has gone over to Humanoid in that play, so not the worst of things for Splice, but SKT are still gonna be very happy with how this one ended up going. Faker gets hooked and gets taken out by the Pike ult as well. Nice job this time around from Splice, capitalizing on SKT's weak side this time around in the middle lane. Faker not having picked up a kill for himself in this game, but all the other members of his team are accelerated, so it should not matter that Faker wasn't the one who got all the gold in this one. Teddy making the play aggressively here onto Vizichachi, but doesn't realize that Rice has already made his way down here, and as he turns to run, it's already too late. The Righteous Glory out of Humanoid, that's the build that Doomby from the LPL popularized. And you see why here. It just enables Rice to chase down anybody with relative ease here, but as he dies with his Q, Teddy manages to finish off that kill, and Vizichachi then tries to stun up Khan and maybe make his way out of the play towards the top side. But of course, quick fingers from Khan, again so impressive on this champion. The reaction's always there, able to avoid that stun and just pick up Vizichachi within a split second. EU versus Korea. The LCK looking for revenge in these two next quarterfinals. This one and of course the G2 versus Damwon Gaming one are looking for revenge here against that region from Europe that has done worse at every single international tournament than Korea, except the last two. Time and time again now, for the last two tournaments, Korea has been outplaced by Europe, and they are looking to set the record straight here. And it starts with this best of 5 and SKT as the favorites, asserting themselves over Splice before the big one in G2 Esports waits for them in the next quarterfinal, and potentially with the matchup of the first seeds from the two regions in the semifinals if G2 are able to get past Damwon Gaming. That would be the true matchup between EU and Korea in seeing who is the more potent region at the current moment. Baron picked up by SKT in the meanwhile, and the solo kill for Khan in the bot lane as the game. Really nothing too major going on. SKT have grabbed the lead, and Splice are looking for everything they can, but it's not a whole lot since all the playmaking, all the aggressive champions, and all the gold is on the side of SKT, who are up 5,000 gold, and the Baron power play has just begun for them. Solo kill onto Humanoid in the bot lane out of Khan. So great on that Fiora. 99 international game wins for Faker. MSI plus World Games, it says here down in the bottom of the screen, the GOAT, and there's really no dispute for that title. He's back with his squad, with his team here. 4 new players from that World Championship around 2 years ago, and they're looking so good in this best of 5. Really looking like that favorites role fits them, and they have not disappointed their Korean fans so far. After last year's Worlds, where they had no team in the round of 4, Korea might just make a return to the elite teams here at the World Championship this year around. Khan has been getting ram-warped onto Flash Hook out of Noshgaren, and Khan still alive, avoiding so much damage with his sidesteps. And a 5-man play with even the Flash expanded from Pike is not able to net them a kill onto the Fiora, and instead it's them who now once more have to retreat after SKT turn the play around. Oh my lord, that's a big Nautilus sword onto the Pike. Teddy into the backline all on his own. Maybe he's finally getting taken out here by Splice, but the stasis keeps him alive for just a second longer. With the stealth gets out of there. Teddy keeps himself alive. Impressive play, even dodges out on the Mystic Shot at the back end of the fight. And what a play from the SKT AD carry for a rookie on the international stage to step up with such confidence and turn the team fight, carry it single-handedly here in the late game and move his team up to a 2-0 scoreline potentially already. They are on towards the Nexus turrets and Splice are doing what they can, but it seems not to be enough. It's a 4 versus 5 for 15 more seconds and SKT are dropping low. They might just be better off retreating out of the base for now. A short moment of relief here for Splice before SKT are going to reset and going to look to take down this fourth dragon for them. They are checking into the jungle here. Splice are, but SKT have already retreated from the map. Coming off the resets here are SKT's bottom lane and top lane, excuse me, not top lane, jungler. They are looking to claim this fourth dragon and leave Splice no room to contest for anything here. Another look at this fight. Effort opens it up with a great ultimate onto Noshkiran here. And despite Splice spreading out quite well, not getting knocked up at all, they are not able to punish Teddy for going into the entire backline of their team and coming out alive. Just impressive play from the SKT AD carry. So disciplined here and finding the right angle to go in there, not just standing back and hitting, but finding the exact angle he needs to dive in and assassinate one of these enemy squishies. 5 kills on this Kaiser. He truly is looking like the next generation of great Korean AD carry players. And it's now an 8,000 gold lead for SKT, despite Splice having finally grabbed another turret of their own. SKT are still with the foot all the way down on the gas pedal, looking for the next turret in the bottom lane. Amazing buffer here from Faker, quite frankly, on the CC with the Tristana, and another engage comes out onto Kobe. Turret has dropped and now it's only forward for SKT. Teleport come into the backline though, and Human is already dead. Dive in again from Teddy into the backline. Another stasis comes out from him, and again the entirety of Splice drops before they can take him down. Khan now finally drops himself, but it's only 1 kill, and that's the game. 5-for-1 trade. All the turrets have been cleared out and SKT move up 2-0 in this quarterfinal series. Match point. Bring it on, Splice. If you have anything left to say, or SKT are just gonna march through to the round of 4.